takunasimiasi Kativik Ilinnialirniup takunaratsanngit.
Inuktitut
Inuktitut Inuttitut.
Inuktitut Inuttitut. Montreal Inuttitut.
Aukka.
Nanili Inuttitut.
Salluni Inuttitut.
Well, we're getting to know more about each other. Now the topic is where one was born. Here's the question as Policy asks it from his dialect area in Sadluit, followed, because we want to keep the dialects the same, followed by his own answer.
Nani Inuttitut. Salluni Inuttitut.
And here's the question and answer as Minnie gives it from Inuktitut.
Nani Inuttitut. Inuktitut Inuttitut.
Ask Policy where he was born in his dialect. Here's the question written out. Ask him now.
Salluni Inuttitut.
Now for Minnie. Ask her now.
Inuktitut Inuttitut.
The structure of these questions and answers is quite intricate, involving in Sadluit a fascinating use of the chunk Viniok that was introduced last time as meaning former, and in Inuktitut a related use of the chunk Niak. It's all explained in proper detail in the booklet that was written to accompany this television series. Now, back to the adventures of Roger, whom we last saw being suckered in a tent after his plane mysteriously crashed. Life in a Tent, Part 2.
Piksika.
Piksipok.
Atatayutin nga ka.
Piksimat immaka utakniyayangittok.
Ila, piksima asiw lang ba?
Auka. Piksiluakpat atataga illuvigaleunertok. Ullakut tikilakkusuni.
Before we get to this week's main theme, we can give you a brief warm-up with the way to say my or your. First of all, here are the basic names for some family members.
Atata. Atata. Angutik. Angutik. Irknik. Irknik.
Ananak. Ananak. Aknak. Aknak. Panik. Panik.
To say my such and such, you simply add ra to the noun, unless the word ends in Q, in which case you add ra.
Atataga. Ananaga. Angutiga. Paniga.
Aknaga. Ikniga.
To say you're such and such, you simply drop any intervening consonant and add it.
Atatait. Angutit. Iknit.
Ananate. Aknate. Panit.
Try a little drill. Minnie or Policy will ask you if your relative will return. And you will say, yes, my relative will return. Don't forget the terms that end in Q.
Ananay tikiniakha.
anaanaga tikiniartoq iqni tikiniaqqa
Iqnera tikiniartoq. Iqnera tikiniartoq. Pani tikiniaqqa.
paniga tikiniartoq
We are going to run variations on the theme of weather during this program. Let's look at 3 utterances about blizzards.
piqsituq piqsimat piqsipa piqsituq piqsimat piqsipa
Ullumi piqsituq. Ullumi piqsituq. Piqsimat tikitjangillaq. Piqsimat tikitjangillaq. Piqsipat aullaniatjangillanga. Piqsipat aullaniatjangillanga.
The usage isn't just as straightforward as those sentences might suggest. Remember, in the 3rd program, we talked about how subtle the becausative could be. We were talking about the first person ending in rama, because I. But the same remarks hold true for the 3rd person ending mat, because he, she, or it. Let's rerun that segment.
Tutsevimike nakit summaan.
kappiasugama
This ending gamma carries more meaning than junga. Junga makes a simple statement. Asio junga, I'm lost. Gamma adds the idea of because. Asio gamma, because I'm lost. Kappiashu gamma, because I'm afraid. Katasi gamma, because I'm starting to fall. These becausative endings are used much more frequently and subtly in Inuktitut than the translations would suggest to a speaker of English or French. If your snowmobile breaks down, or if your favorite aunt dies, in English you might philosophically say, well, can't be helped. That same phrase in Inuktitut has a becausative ending.
ayok namat
If, on a dark and stormy night, someone orders you out into the storm, you might indignantly say, but it's blowing a blizzard. Once again, in Inuktitut, we have a becausative ending.
Inuktitut
piqsimalli
Let's take a moment to make sure we know how to add this ending precisely to every verb stem. Here are 2 simple verb stems, one ending in K, one ending in Q. Here are the statement forms for these verbs. Oh yes, the translations aren't absolutely precise. See the booklet for a deeper discussion.
Sinittoq. Sinittoq.
itiqtoq
And here are the becausative forms.
Sinimmat. Sinimmat.
itiqmat
It's the same phonological process we saw when we added mi and mitok to nouns.
akulivimmi sinittoq sinimmat
taseq miituq iteqtuq itermat.
Since we're being really picky here, we should point out that the letter R stands for several different sounds in Inuktitut. In Inuktitut, it's just a not so definite form of the Q you hear at the end of tasik.
Tasik, itiktok. Tasik, itiktok.
In taselme and itermat, however, and anywhere in front of a nasal sound like M or N or NG, it is a nasalized R. In fact, there's even a bit of a glottal stop comes in there in some cases.
Tasik, tasik mi. Itiktok, itikmat.
Enough talk. Time for participation. We give you some nice, simple statements that pattern like sinitok and itertok, and you turn them into becausative. We'll do the first two as examples, and then, to make it even simpler, we'll alternate the patterns, first a K stem, then a Q stem. First, we'd better give you the new words we'll be using.
Malitok,
Ikayoktok,
katatok,
titoktok.
Listen to the first two, give the answer to the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth yourself.
siniktok, sinimat,
Itiktok, itikmat,
malitok, malimat,
ikayoktok, ikayokmat,
katatok, katamat,
titoktok, titokmat.
Straightforward, isn't it? That means it's time to introduce a familiar complication, the charming and rhythmic law of double consonants. Some weather vocabulary containing double consonants. Just listen to these three.
Piksitok, piksimat, piksimat,
khanitok, khanimat, khanimat,
silakhitok, silakhimat, silakhimat.
Well now, what about adding mat to words ending in vowels? This is where it becomes a little odd. Remember how simple it was to add mi to nouns ending in vowels. You just tacked it on.
nuna, nunami,
Sikuk, sikumi.
Here are the verbs whose stems end in vowels that we're going to use.
tukisiyok, tukisiyok,
Takuyok, takuyok.
isumayok, isumayok,
And here we add the becausative ending mat.
tukisimat, tukisimat,
Takuymat, takummat.
isumammat, isumammat,
Yes, indeed. Certainly for many, an extra M comes spiraling in out of nowhere. And I can't give a simple explanation for it. I mean, there isn't even an explanation in the booklet, and that's where we go into detail. Now that we have made sure you'll be able to pronounce the becausative confidently and precisely in at least 2 dialects, we should look at a few more examples of it in use.
Ullumi huaqtadealangavit.
Auka piqsimat.
Ullumi tuttusiulangavit.
Auka nunalituttuhangimat. Auka nunalituttuhangimat.
Listen to the last one again, and then to a shorter version.
Ullumi tuttusiulangavit.
Auka nunalituttuhangimat.
Ullumi tuttusiulangangilatit.
Tuttuhangimalle. Tuttuhangimalle.
You could handle that. Every time Minnie asks you, aren't you going to hunt such and such a creature? You will reply, but there aren't any such creatures. Start with the one you've just heard.
Ullumi tuttusiulangatsangillatit.
Tuttuhangimalle.
Ullumi natsisiulangangillatit.
Natsihangimalle.
Ullumi nirlisiulangangillatit.
Niqlihangimalle.
Ullumi ahkisiulangangillatit.
Akikkihangimalle.
All the effort we have expended on this mastery of the becausative reaps its benefit when we come to look at the conditional, the form used to express the idea if it blizzards, for example. Here are the becausative and conditional forms of the words we've been looking at side by side. First, the simple examples.
Sinimmat. Sinipat. Sinipat.
Itikmat. Itikpat. Itikpat.
This is the obvious time for a little exercise where you transform the simple becausatives you dealt with a moment or two ago into simple conditionals. Here are those words again in their becausative form.
Malimmat.
Ikayokmat.
Katammat.
Titokmat.
Now you will turn them into their conditional equivalents. So you do it.
Sinimmat. Sinipat.
Itikmat. Itikpat.
Malimmat. Malipat.
Ikayokmat. Ikayokpat.
Katammat.
Katapat.
Titokmat. Titokpat.
The examples with double consonants have no surprises either.
Piqsimat. Piqsipat. Piqsipat.
Khannimat.
Well, what is it?
Khannipat. Khannipat.
Silakhimat.
And this one?
Silakhipat. Silakhipat.
Once again, the verbs ending in vowels attract a mysterious extra consonant, at least for Minnie. This time, another P. Here are the ones we used in their becausative form.
Tukisimmat.
Takummat.
Isumammat.
You can now produce these forms yourself. Minnie and Policy will pause to let you slip in your contribution.
Tukisimmat. Tukisippat. Tukisippat.
Takummat. Takuppat. Takuppat.
Isumammat. Isumappat. Isumappat.
How about the usage of the conditional? Well now, it has one very interesting feature. It means not only if, it also simultaneously means when in the future. Think about this for a moment. In English, in our northern innocence, we tend to take certain future events for granted. We look at the schedule and we say, tomorrow, when the plane arrives, I shall depart. The literal translation of that into Inuktitut is
Haupat. Timiyok. Tikipat. Aulalakong.
there is no certainty about future events in life, and there is no certainty about future events in Inuktitut. That translation means tomorrow, if and or when the plane arrives, I shall depart. Incidentally, a more natural way to express that statement would be to use a structure with hak, like this.
Haupat. Timiyo hakpat. Aulalaktunga.
Tomorrow, if and or when there is a plane, I shall depart. Let's assume, for the next exercise, that you're desperate to leave. You will leave if there is any means of transport. Let's hear Minnie again.
Khayak. Khaya hakpat. Makhailaktunga. Khaya hakpat. Makhailaktunga.
Now it will be your turn. You will get the name of a vehicle, and you will say, if there were such a vehicle, I shall go away.
Umiyak. Umiya hakpat. Makhailaktunga.
Umiyak zawak. Umiyak zawak hakpat. Makailak ko nga.
Sikituk. Sikituk hakpat. Makhailaktunga.
Two little chunks left to cover. First chunk, luak, not lauk, luak, is a chunk that means too much. Let's look at it in action.
Niriloa ma anialak nga.
Kingubalo akavit. Igitaw yutit.
Ayok namat.
Aku livili alang ilatit.
Pet siluang mali.
Ila, peksima asiw lang ava.
Auka, tuksiluakpat atataga illuvigaleunektok. Ulla kuttikilak husumi.
Second chunk, ko, is a chunk that means probably. Because of the operations of the law of double consonants, It can appear in several different forms.
Aulahoktok. Aulalakhotok. Aulalakhorama.
In our dialogue, it has an ending that we saw once before when we needed to connect what was being said to the rest of the sentence.
Tikikhotok. Tikilakhotok. Tikilakhosuni.
Ila piksima asiulangava.
Auka tuqsiluarpat ataataga illuvigaleuniartoq ullaakut tikilaaquusuni.
Tukisivit.
Tukisiqquutunga.
Tukisivisi.
That's the end of lesson number 5. You know about the booklet that's available to accompany this program. It goes into a lot more detail than we've time for. If you want to order it, and you really should, here's how to do it. In the next program, we're going to look at more beccausatives and at some occupational terms. Takulari vugut.
Takularevot.
Takularevot.